It's fall time! Well, almost. The kids have all gone back to school, there's a brisk tint in the air, and the smell of pumpkin spice is everywhere. Today's recipe is for low-carb, sugar-free pumpkin spice bread. So easy, so quick, so good. And if you want a printable version of this recipe, then check out my website at janetsdeliciouslowcarbkitchen.com. You can find a printable version of this recipe along with other goodies there for you. And if you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the little notification bell. That way you can be notified every time I put out a new video. And while you do that, let's get cooking. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Lightly spray a 9x5 loaf pan with cooking spray. Make sure you just spray it lightly. You don't want it over moist. It'll make the bottom of the bread soggy. We don't want that. So just lightly spray it. In a medium mixing bowl, whisk together 2/3 cup almond flour, 2/3 cup vital wheat gluten, 2/3 cup oat flour, a half teaspoon salt, a 1/4 teaspoon ground dry ginger, a 1/4 teaspoon ground dry nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon ground dry cinnamon, 2 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 cup granulated stevia or sweetener of your choice. Whisk these together until they're fully combined and there are no lumps left in the flour. For gluten-free, substitute the 2/3 cup of vital wheat gluten for 2/3 cup of almond flour plus 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Don't forget the xanthan gum because that is your binding agent. Without it, your bread will fall apart. If you do choose to do this recipe gluten-free, it will affect the lift and the texture of the bread. It will still taste good, but it won't be quite as fluffy, and it will affect the rise just a little bit. So just keep that in mind if you do choose to do the recipe gluten-free. In a large mixer bowl, combine 1/3 cup of softened shortening, 1/4 cup of room temperature milk, and 1/4 cup of pure maple. Make sure it is pure maple, not imitation maple. Blend these on low for about 10 to 15 seconds or until they're fully combined. Now the maple is optional. It gives it more of a brown sugar flavor to your bread, so if you don't want that brown sugar flavor, then you can leave the maple out. But personally, I like that brown sugar taste, so I add the maple to it, but also maple does add a couple more carbs to it, so if you're really counting those carbs, you can keep that maple out if you prefer to. Next, add 2 large room temperature eggs and blend this together on low until they're fully combined. Add 1 cup of pumpkin puree. If you use fresh puree like I do, make sure that it is room temperature. You don't want to take your puree right out of the refrigerator and put it in there. Let it sit on your counter, come to room temperature. That way it makes your batter a lot more easy to stir. If you put things in there that are too cold, it makes your batter very tough, which results in tough bread. So we don't want that. So make sure if you use fresh puree, bring it up to room temperature. Beat the ingredients together on low for 30 seconds or until they're fully combined. Add your dry ingredients to your wet ingredients. Beat on low for 15 seconds, then on medium for 15 to 20 seconds or until fully combined and no dry ingredients are left in the bowl. Pour the batter into the prepared loaf pan and evenly spread the batter over the entire pan. Make sure it is even. You don't want one side higher than the other because then you'll have one side cooked and the other side get burnt. So make sure it is even, nice and even in your pan. Bake it for about 55 to 60 minutes or until a tester comes out clean and it's lightly golden on top. Let it cool in the pan for about 10 minutes, then carefully turn it onto a wire rack for it to cool completely. Let it cool completely before you slice it. Once it's sliced, if you want it a little bit warmer, you could pop it in the microwave for 10 to 15 seconds. But before you slice it, make sure it's cooled completely. That way all the ingredients have time to fully set, and then you have a more sturdy loaf of pumpkin bread. If you have any leftovers, you can store it in an airtight container in your refrigerator, and then whenever you want it, you can pop it out, pop it in the microwave for a few seconds, put some butter on it, or however you choose to eat it. And there you have it. Low-carb, sugar-free pumpkin spice bread. Eat and enjoy. And that's our recipe of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave me a comment if you'd like. Let me know if there's any recipes that you'd like to learn how to make without the use of white flour and white sugar. And as always, keep cooking.